Good morning. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. As you see there, a beautiful, brisk day in Washington, D.C., as it's the bottom of the hour right now. And our nation's capital, of course, the president, fresh off back from that trip in Malaysia, Japan, and China, getting a lot of deals done as he is the deal maker in chief, as you guys have seen out there. We had all that coverage this week as well, so a ton of coverage. And we're going to keep it on this Friday, October 31st, 2025. Of course, you saw that coverage last night with Robert McNeely, the Halloween celebration out there at the White House. And this morning, I'm not sure where you're watching from, but I looked in Des Moines, Iowa. It was about 38 degrees. Down here in the deep south, about 40, 42. Out in LA, it's 61, Atlanta in the 40s, New York in the 50s. But I want to show you a quick photo. Just, it's Friday, so happy Friday to you. That is ice on the sunroof. I was surprised to see that. I just wasn't ready for it. Living in the deep south now, my wife and I were from the Northeast, so we're used to it there. But caught us off guard a little bit, at least caught me off guard this morning. So what's it like where you are right now? If you'd like to type in the chat below. As we are live right now, 9:32, Friday, October 31st. All right. So, of course, a brisk morning out there, but was also thinking about the fact that, really just thank God for truth and common sense. If I was a liberal, I'd be sad and upset and offended at everything too. They're just using those incorrect methods. No wonder they're so off center when you think about it out there. It's like, yeah, no wonder they're so mad and upset and all that. They just have the wrong thinking. Hopefully things will, ease up a bit. Man, it'd be nice. At 10 this morning, the president will depart the White House. As you see there at the bottom of your screen, he'll travel to West Palm Beach, of course, to Mar-a-Lago for the weekend. Well-deserved. There's so many things that are well-deserved, but great to see that he'll be taking that trip to Florida. Around the same time, the GOP will hold yet another press conference on Capitol Hill, all thanks to the Schumer shutdown, as we are 31 days into the Schumer Democrat government shutdown. The question is, what will happen with the SNAP benefits? Because I was watching a lot of national coverage yesterday, and I was seeing Katie Hobbs, it should be Carrie Lake out there in Arizona as governor. But anyway, Katie Hobbs and Pritzker and Kathy Hochul and others, talking about SNAP benefits and what they're going to be doing to help with the situation. But the situation is caused by their colleagues, the Democrats. It really is. Listen, people can say, I remember, talking to the late, great Hulk Hogan. He was in Alabama last year. And we did an interview with him, and he was talking about the media, and he was saying the media could keep saying the sky is red, the sky is red, and if you keep saying it long enough, people will be like, yeah, the sky is red. It's the same thing with this. It's a brainwashing technique that the Democrats and the media are using to try and blame Republicans for this. It's really not that. And this isn't just politics, Republicans and Democrats. This is actually good versus evil. It's, the truth versus the lies. It's all the things. But unfortunately, what we're seeing is 42 million people will not have their SNAP benefits. Now, we can get into the discussions as to whether some people live off of the system and all that whole thing. I get it, but let's just talk about the fact that some of the 42 million are saying we are going to steal or loot at various stores starting tomorrow and through the weekend, maybe Monday, Tuesday. So we're going to be tracking stories like that here at the network. We have a long list of stuff that we're going to get to that we're tracking here as we get ready to see President Trump a bit later. We're talking about, 10 this morning is when he's scheduled to actually depart. The GOP press conference is also scheduled for 10 this morning. Good thing is we have a great crew here, and they're able to check all the different live feeds, and we'll go to the one that is live first. And then, of course, if it's the GOP press conference, but we see President Trump getting ready to take off, we will cut over to President leaving. We'll pause the live session there because we record the live feeds. and then we'll be able to go back to the GOP press conference. I know it's a lot of inside baseball, but I think transparency is always good, especially when we're live like this, where we're constantly covering different events. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors before we get to some more of the news that we're following in this 24/7 news cycle, including All Family Pharmacy. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and this is a time really when many families are searching for clarity, for hope, and for options worth learning about. You know, more people today are exploring these repurposed medications like mebendazole for its potential cancer support and ongoing research. So All Family Pharmacy believes you deserve access and the freedom to explore what may feel right for you and your loved ones. They make the process simple. A licensed doctor reviews every order to ensure it's appropriate, and your medication is shipped directly to your door. For this final week of October, they're offering 40% off mebendazole. You see that right there on your screen. This offer ends today. So the discount is automatically applied at checkout, so there's no code needed. So all you have to do is visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to learn more. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And you can order today is the last day for that 40% off. Maybe it'll get extended. I'm not sure, but I do know this. It is the last day for 40% off mebendazole. And as always, this is not medical advice. Please consult with a licensed physician to determine what's best for your care. A great sponsor here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, allfamilypharmacy.com. Let's go to monetary gold. For years, unfortunately, the signs have been clear, but most Americans ignored them. Now the storm beneath the dollar is impossible to miss. Gold has broken through $4,000 an ounce, silver past $50, and it isn't luck, it's logic. When governments spend beyond their means, when every crisis is met with another trillion printed out of thin air, the value of your money must fall. So history proves it. Every time a currency weakens, gold and silver rise to reveal the truth. And these metals don't depend on promises. They don't vanish when confidence collapses. They endure. That's why the world's strongest institutions are moving into physical gold quietly but decisively, and now is your moment to do the same. All you have to do is call 888-617-7994 or visit RSBNforthegold.com. Take what you've built and make it real before the next headline reminds you that paper wealth is just that, paper. All right, it's 9:38, Friday, October 31st. Thanks again for joining us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Looking like the director of National Economic Council, Kevin Hassett, was just speaking to the cameras and to the reporters outside of the White House. Once I get the green light that is ready to go. All right, well, I got the green light right away. Let's go to Kevin Hassett from moments ago.
Tom Dempsey with News Nation. I was hoping you could give us your perspective on needing to move funds around to pay troops with this government shutdown.
Yeah, it's completely unacceptable that the Democrats are, basically holding all Americans hostage. Government workers who aren't being paid, people who need their food stamps, people who travel, people who are now concerned about their travel plans for Thanksgiving. The government is meant to be open. It's meant to function and be fully funded. And I can say that Russ Vought is doing heroic things to try to minimize the harm from the Democrats' hissing fit about Donald Trump's success. It's the only explanation for what's wrong right now.
And Director, what can President Trump do right now to help open the shutdown? He's heading, he's been gone in Asia, he's heading out of town. So what can he do to help reopen the government? Does he need to be meeting with Democrats right now?
Well, President Trump just closed a number of historic deals with our Asian allies. He was able, along with Secretary Bessent and Jameson Greer, to negotiate an astonishingly good deal with China. He actually went above Spinal Tap and said it wasn't an 11 on the Navafood test, it was a 12. I think I might give it a 13 because if you look at it, China is continuing to pay the tariffs that the president has put in place, but they're also opening up their trade with us and buying stuff from our farmers.
But Director, why won't the president meet with Democrats to talk about what they can do?
The president takes phone calls all the time, but this is an issue with the Senate. The senators need to do their job. The job of the senator is to be a moderating influence in American culture, American politics. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats right now are the opposite. And I think that every voter in the world is going to notice that, that guy that I thought was a moderate is not. That they're basically taking orders from Chuck Schumer and AOC and putting Americans in harm's way with their government shutdown. It's just completely unacceptable.
Do you support the elimination of the filibuster? What you mentioned stronger measures last week too.
President Trump has mentioned that might be an option. But frankly, I don't know how long. I think the Democrats might decide to try to keep the government closed until President Trump's out of office. Who knows? There's no sense in what they're doing. Again, it feels like a hissy fit of a 2-year-old.
Do you think the premiums though, you call it a hissy fit, do you think that's a genuine concern that they have on the left?
President Trump has made it clear that, as have the Republicans in the House and Senate, that they're willing to discuss the premiums after the government's open and through the normal course. I remind that 13 times the Democrats voted to keep the government open while President Biden was in office, but that meant that 13 times the Republicans understood their constitutional duty to keep the government open so that Americans don't go through the suffering that they're going through right now. It's completely preposterous that this is like the third time that we've had a government shutdown since President Trump was in office. So basically, when President Trump wins, the Democrats know that they've got a worthy opponent on their hands, and the only option that they seem to have is to shut the government down. And it's just like they're not doing their jobs.
You were really talking about
I got time for one
How
more
would you
question.
describe the health of the U.S. economy in light of the cuts of the rates from the Fed?
Yeah, so the U.S. economy is very strong. We're looking at third quarter GDP that's close to 4% growth, and excuse the lots of wind. And I think that's a momentum that will carry forward. The government shutdown is looking like it might reduce that number quite a bit, especially going into the fourth quarter. And but the momentum from all of President Trump's policies is really, really strong. As for the Fed, I think that we're glad that they reduced the interest rate. We think that was the right move. But if you think about from the previous meeting, the news we have is basically that inflation is lower than we thought. And other than that, we don't have a lot of news because the government shutdown is making it so that the Fed is flying blind a little bit. But we have a government shutdown, which is a negative for the economy. And against that backdrop, the idea that the Fed would be backing away from their promised rate reductions in the future is puzzling to us. So thank you very much.
President Trump announced additional tariffs on Colombia. Mr. Hassett. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Kevin Hassett there speaking to the press outside of the White House. We're awaiting the start of the 31st GOP leadership press conference, all about the Democrat Schumer government shutdown. And then, of course, the president is also scheduled around the same time that this is scheduled to start to be departing the White House. So as soon as we see that at the White House, we'll go directly to that live. And then on top of that, we can go back to the press conference. We are recording it as well. We'll be able to air that in its entirety. So 2 events this morning on this Friday, October 31st, brought to you by some great sponsors, including the following here on the right side as it's 9:44, callshe.com/RSBN. A lot of topics out there, as you guys know, right? So there's science and technology, weather, sports, politics, faith, music, whatever, right? There's so many things. How about the mayoral race in the Big Apple? Hopefully the Big Apple stays the Big Apple and doesn't go to the rotten apple if we have a certain candidate as the mayor there. That's what many believe, but we'll see what the voters say coming up in New York. But anyway, callshe.com/RSBN. There are more than 1 million users on Callshe. And also, what we really know is the fact that there's 3 ways that you can find out about Callshe. You can go to the QR code. You can download the Callshe app or go to callshe.com/RSBN. Let's go to Angel Paste, Spring, Texas as well. So angelpaste.com, if you use the promo code there, RSBN promo code, you'll get a good percentage off. And now that we're teetering on November 1st, that means when it's November 1st, it will be a month away from the month of December, of course. That's a long way to say, let's buy some Christmas gifts. You know what I mean? So angelpaste.com. A lot of great gifts there on angelpaste.com. They've been a great sponsor here, a great company out of Texas, and also hiring military veterans. So overall, a win-win with angelpaste.com as it's 9:45 Friday, October 31st. Looking live there again at the podium as we get ready to go to Capitol Hill. And then we'll shift over to the White House as we'll see the president getting ready to take off from on Marine One over to Joint Base Andrews and board Air Force One. Most likely on this long week that he's been traveling, He'll be speaking to the press, whether that's on the South Lawn before he boards the Marine One, or if it's outside of the plane before he takes off, or maybe even on the plane on the way down to Florida. So we'll see. All right, let's look at a few things that we are tracking here on Right Side. Today, again, is day 31 of the Schumer shutdown. We're also 4 days away from Election Day, November 4th, closely watching a number of races out there, including in the Garden State of New Jersey for the gubernatorial race, the Virginia gubernatorial race, the AG race there, Attorney General for Virginia, and of course the New York City mayoral race. We're also seeing if there are any developments for any more deep state indictments. We're following ICE mass deportations throughout the country, the National Guard doing a great job in various cities. We're also keeping an eye on any Antifa and woke mob protests. When I say that, doesn't mean that we know of any. I'm just saying we're just keeping an eye out for. These are the kind of stories that we're, tracking. Of course, on many people's mind right now, what will be the no SNAP benefits reaction from some of the public if the Schumer government shutdown doesn't open? That's something we may be seeing in the next 24 to 48, 72 hours. 42 million people are on SNAP, which stands for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. For those that don't know, I had to look it up just to double check. I kept hearing SNAP, and I knew it was that, but I was like, I got to double check. But anyway, the point there is we're going to monitor anything with that, because we did see a number of videos of people saying that they're going to loot or rob or steal. Didn't really hear the rob part. Let's just backtrack on that and correct that right now. Stealing from stores. There are people who are saying we're going to go at this date and this time and whatever. So we'll see what happens with that. And we'll see how each city responds to that when it comes to law enforcement. The president saying on Truth Social about the government shutdown that he'll, quote, initiate the nuclear option, get rid of the filibuster and make America great again, end quote. That was on Truth Social. So we'll see what happens there. We're also awaiting any possible developments with Venezuela and the Mexican narco terrorists. That's something that President Trump has spoken about. He has said things like, well, we've been, tackling it on the open sea. But he said something about the possibility of shifting that to land. That's what he said from the other day. I was watching. I know many of you might know that. If you don't, we'll see if there's anything that happens there. Also, outside of that, we're expecting in the coming weeks an announcement from the White House about securing our elections. The president has spoken about that as well, specifically about all of the topics and the common sense policies and all that for number 19 out of 20 of the promises to the American people, which includes, of course, securing our elections, same day voting, voting ID, paper ballots, all that stuff. So great to see people like Mike Lindell and Seth Keshel and other security, experts when it comes to elections. And there's many others, Steve Stern and Raj and all these people out there that are doing a great job, just wanting to make sure everybody's up to date on specifically how things are run at the local, state, local, county, state, federal level. Because really, if we have secure elections, I thought about this the other day, and do you agree with this? So those of you that might be glossing over what I'm saying right now, we're just waiting for the GOP press conference and the president to show up. But do you guys agree that if we have free and fair elections, right, and we don't have to worry about making something too big to rig and all that, and just everything is voter ID and all that it'll be very hard for us to lose another election. Do you agree with that? Because if you look at it, the majority, we have the numbers, the massive majority of the United States, supports common sense policies and support the conservative movement. That's the majority of the country. We saw 3 straight landslide victories for President Trump. We have control of the Senate. We have control of the House, That doesn't mean we sit back and go, okay, we don't need to vote. I'm talking about you got a full-on vote. You got to make it so-called too big to rig, but that's just to get us out there to vote because we have to, right? That's our awesome ability to have as a free constitutional republic. So, but do you agree with that? I really don't know. How are we going to lose another election if we really sincerely have free and fair elections? But will we? I hope we will. I know the president and the team and many are working on that. So looking forward to seeing that installed by the midterms. That's all we want is free and fair. And if for some reason it was a bazillion other people on the left side of history voted and that's the free and fair election, then that's the way it goes. But again, the majority of the country on the right side of history. So we'll see what happens. 9:51 Friday, October 31st, as we continue to look at various stories out there. We're monitoring what President Trump said the other day on Air Force One, that the advancement of AI being basically the new internet. And outside of those comments there, any developments with robotics, as we've seen that Amazon is making swift moves in that direction as well. Whether you're for or against, I'm not saying I'm for or against, I'm just saying we're reporting on what we're seeing out there. And of course, we're monitoring any breaking news that's happening out there. And if you want to add to the list, if you want to share in the comments things that you're thinking about or want us to report on, great, go ahead. And then go to @MatthewAlvarez if you'd like and say, hey, these are the stories that I'm really curious about. Meantime, let's shift gears as we get ready to go to Capitol Hill here in just a minute. And then also we'll be seeing the president a bit later outside of the White House, boarding Marine One, possibly speaking to reporters there. And then we'll see him take off on Air Force One as well. So just two main events that we're covering here on this Friday. Meantime, there was a packed house at Ole Miss in Oxford earlier this week for the Turning Point campus tour. You saw that coverage live here. You might not have seen it, but many did. Vice President J.D. Vance spoke and took questions, and Mrs. Erica Kirk, also spoke about her late husband, the great late Charlie Kirk. And she had these powerful words to say about our God, our country, and our freedom.
And at this moment, every single one of us has a choice to make, whether we stand for freedom or we're just going to fall for everything else. I just want this to be the generation that says, we will not apologize for loving our country first. We will not be silent about our faith. We will not back down when the world tells us to kneel, because we bow only to the King of Kings.
I mean, the great Charlie Kirk, I mean, his words, Erica's words, they are so on point. She said every single one of us has a choice to make, whether we stand for freedom or we're just going to fall for everything else. And then she also said what you just heard, we will not apologize for loving our country first. We will not be silent about our faith. We will not back down when the world tells us to kneel, because we only bow to the King of Kings, of course, referencing many of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And if you don't believe in that, it's still great to have people that are on the right side of history with freedom as the call for this nation, as we have that freedom to speak and the freedom of religion and all of the things, right? The freedom of the press. So again, great words there by Erica Kirk. We'll be playing that maybe a little later in the broadcast as more and more people show up to the broadcast right now. And those of you that already are watching on Rumble and YouTube and X and all over the place, Truth Social, thanks so much for doing so. Glad you're with us on RSBN Live, getting ready to see yet another press conference there with the GOP leadership. Not their fault. That's all because of the Schumer shutdown. This is day 31 of that. So we'll see the Speaker of the House and other GOP leaders. And then we'll be seeing the president a bit later as well when it comes to his departure from the White House down to Florida. Now, both of these events are scheduled for around 10 a.m. So we'll go back and forth. We'll get it all covered for you. Thanks again for joining us for that. Let's go to one of our sponsors here, covepure.com/RSBN. We've spoken about tap water yesterday. I did, at least, or the day before. This is a great system right here. 99.9% of any of the stuff, the junk that's in water, is taken out. And you have this water that tastes much better. It's healthier for your system. And you can have it warm, hot, cold, however you want to drink the water when it comes to coffee, tea, or just straight up water. Covepure.com/RSBN. You can get $200 off for a limited time. And you know, a lot of the pipes that are out there, going right up to our sinks, that tap water, this is the solution, a great solution, a great sponsor. Drink pure, live pure, Covepure.com/RSBN. Let's go to another great sponsor here on Right Side as we get ready to see a couple live events here. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This is a time when many families are searching for clarity, for hope, and for options worth learning about. And more people today are exploring repurposed medications like mebendazole for its potential cancer support and ongoing research. All Family Pharmacy believes you deserve access and the freedom to explore what may feel right for you and your loved ones. So they make the process simple. A licensed doctor reviews every order to ensure it's appropriate, and your medication is shipped directly to your door. For this final week of October, they're offering the 40% off mebendazole. That offer ends today. So you don't have to use a code for this one. So if you buy mebendazole, the discount is automatically applied at checkout. So again, there's no code needed. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And as always, this is not medical advice. Please consult with a licensed physician to determine what's best for your care. As allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN, a great sponsor here at the network. And, mebendazole is one of the options. You have ivermectin. There's so many different things. Great company, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. All right, we're about 3 minutes away from the top of the hour. And is that Speaker of the House? That is. Let's go to it right now.
This is day 31 of the Democrat shutdown. As you can see, I have a special guest that I'm delighted to introduce to you in just a moment here. We have spoken daily, every day at this podium about the real pain that Americans are experiencing because of the Democrat shutdown. We talked about the pain for our troops, for our federal workers, for American families. And this morning, we want to speak specifically about the millions of American families that are going to feel real hardship because of the SNAP benefits drying up. And we have no one less than the Secretary of the Department of Agriculture, who's in charge of that program, that will speak directly to that issue. But I want to begin first with just a word of sincere gratitude. Across this country, we've got millions of federal workers who have been showing up at the office every day without pay. This has drug on for a month now. Those federal workers have shown up for a month straight, not knowing when or if their next paycheck will be delivered. They're doing their jobs, and they're doing it valiantly, while the Senate Democrats simply refuse to do their job. Their most simple and basic responsibility is to keep the government in operation so that we can keep the services flowing to the American people and keep the country moving. But they're not doing that. So we just want to say to these federal workers, like the hundreds of civilian employees who are also spread throughout the country, like the ones in my district, for example, at the Bain Jones Army Community Hospital down at Fort Polk, our big Army base there. We just want to say thank you for your diligence, for doing your job, for your service to the country, even though Democrats are withholding your paycheck. They are shameless in doing so. Throughout this shutdown, President Trump and his administration have done everything in their power, as we relay to you here every day, example after example. They've done everything they can to mitigate and reduce the harm to the American people. He's gone out of his way to find creative solutions to ensure our service members don't miss a paycheck, for example, to ensure that the WIC program, that the nutrition assistance to women, infants, and children is still flowing. President Trump has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that if there is any way to fund these programs that are drying up now, that he will do it. If there was any way to fund SNAP during the Democrat shutdown, you can be assured that your commander-in-chief would do it. But we are now reaching a breaking point. Thanks to Democrats voting no on government funding now 14 different times, SNAP benefits for millions of American families are drying up. It's about 1 in 8 people in this country who rely upon this to literally put food on their table. And the blame for this lies 100% with the senators sitting over there on the Democrat Party. They are the ones who have locked arms and decided over and over and over and over, 14 times now, to vote against these services being provided. And now I want you to think about that. You're going to have real people, real families. You're going to have children who will go hungry beginning this weekend when those resources dry up. They rely upon that, and yet the Democrats continue with their political games in Washington while people are sitting around the dinner table without the resources that they need. The administration has done all it can to keep this program afloat, but the limits have been reached here. And what are the Democrats doing today? Where are the Democrats? Are they in the Senate today? No, they're out campaigning. While critical SNAP benefits run dry, the Democrats have skipped town. They've abandoned their post in the Senate, and the reason that's so important and noteworthy for the American people is the Senate is the only place where this can end. The last hope of reopening the government before millions of Americans go hungry. They've abandoned their post. Democrats are now this is the incredible part, they're now trying to somehow blame Republicans for cutting off SNAP when Republicans, remember, are the ones who have voted 14 times for the SNAP benefits to flow. It's the Democrats who voted every single time to turn that off. The same Democrats who've been perfectly fine with defunding SNAP and WIC for over a month now are suddenly claiming to be outraged that Republicans and President Trump can't just wave some magic wand and fix the mess that they themselves have created. If they're suddenly waking up to the pain their reckless decision is causing, then there's one simple way to fix it. They can come back in here and vote to reopen the government. But we don't think they're going to do that. Now, this is what's interesting. The most recent development is that you've got many more people now calling on the Senate Democrats to do the right job. There's a handful of moderates still in the Democrat Party, and they are very upset about that. The tension is rising. You had Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, for example, who just yesterday, I think it was, accused his own party of, quote, playing chicken with the food security of 42 million Americans. He's right. And you've seen now the avalanche of people and organizations and institutions calling on the Democrats to reopen the government and vote for the clean CR. You got labor unions. You got the largest airlines in America. You got independent voters. Working class Americans across the country, they are all pleading with the Democrats to do their job and stop using their hardships, the people's hardships, for the Democrats' political games in Washington. Yesterday, there was a lot written about an editorial that was in the Washington Post. I commend it to your reading if you haven't seen that. But it reads in part just one line out of that. I would like to stand up here and read you the whole thing. The Washington Post, as you know, is not generally on my side. They said, quote, Democrats openly acknowledge that they refuse to do this, reopen the government, because it would mean giving up their leverage. If they persist, it will mean families start to go hungry. Now, look, this isn't some novel idea. As you know, the Democrats have always traditionally said, breathlessly, given speeches passionately saying that you've got to keep the government funded. You should never shut it down. It would be so dangerous. And we've recounted this over and over. I mean, I literally could be here all day reading the Democrats' own past statements on the perils of shutting down the government, but I'm just going to highlight a couple this morning because they're relevant and timely. I'll begin with Senator Coons. He's the senior Democrat senator from Delaware. In 2013, he said this, quote, our democracy cannot function if the majority party threatens to shut down the government unless it gets its way, unquote. And that was Senator Coons in 2013. And what is he saying now? Earlier this week, he said, quote, frankly, this is our only moment of leverage. Quite a switch. Bernie Sanders has got a lot of airtime here lately, and back in 2018, Senator Bernie Sanders said this, quote, the truth is that shutting down the government is a serious and dangerous action that we must do everything possible to prevent. That was in 2018. You know what he said this month? Quote, if we reopen the government, we lose our leverage. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse in 2013. The shutdown was, quote, entirely unnecessary and has harmed our economy and our reputation in the world. But if we also can't forget, we must never again allow extremist hostage-taking to create this kind of disruption. That was 2013. Just days ago, the senator from Rhode Island said the opposite. It's the only lever we have, meaning the shutdown. What he means is that the pain of the American people is their political lever. I guess he's forgotten his cries of alarm over the extremist hostage taking. And how about the House? And infamously now, we all know the Democrat whip, Catherine Clark, the second highest ranking Democrat in the House, said, quote, just last year, she said, they are taking a non-issue, a false flag, and saying this is the reason we can't proceed. It is a dangerous precedent to be threatening a shutdown. That's what she said in 2024. And what did she say about a week ago? The opposite, quote, of course there will be families that are going to suffer here, but it's one of the few leverage times we have. Many House members have echoed the same hypocrisy, and I'm not going to waste our time with it this morning, but I do want to leave you with this quote from Chuck Schumer, because he is the actual architect of the shutdown. He is the one that is preventing the Senate Democrats from doing the right thing. In March of this year, as you know, he voted on the same CR to avert a shutdown. And he said then, quote, in his speech on the Senate floor and in a bunch of interviews, this is what he said on the Senate floor, quote, the CR was certainly bad, but a shutdown would be 15 or 20 times worse. It was a vote of principle. And today, Chuck Schumer, entirely void of principle, by his own estimation, said, quote, every day gets better for his party. Tell that to the millions of American families facing a hunger crisis now as a direct result of his failed leadership and shenanigans. Those Democrats have all collectively voted 14 times over the last several weeks to reject the clean continuing resolution to fund the government, and they've made it abundantly clear they're going to continue to do that, to hold the American people hostage, so long as it serves their political interest to look tough to the leftist radicals in their base. Republicans have done our part to end the government, the Democrat shutdown, and now it's time for Democrats to do theirs. The path forward is simple. Please, every American who is concerned about this, every American that is feeling the harm, you should call the Senate Democrats and tell them to stop the nonsense. Echo the voices of the unions, of the airlines, of hardworking people everywhere, and tell them to stop doing this and open the government. We have to do that. 42 million Americans are set to miss meals starting tomorrow, and this should be the easiest vote they've ever taken in their lives. I don't want to belabor this point any longer, because I'm delighted to introduce you to our guest for the daily press conference here. Everybody knows Brooke Rollins, the incomparable, as I call her, the incomparable Brooke Rollins. She leads the U.S. Department of Agriculture. And, of course, her department operates and oversees SNAP benefits to all these tens of millions of Americans. We're fortunate to have her here today. She's going to talk about the devastating effects of the Democrats' decisions on all this. And I'm delighted to give her the podium now. Brooke, so thanks so much for being here, Madam Secretary.
Thank you, Mike, Mr. Speaker. Really great to be here with everyone. I was reminded I was in the Speaker's backyard in Louisiana over the weekend and on Friday, and we went to a restaurant there, and our waiter by the name of Joe was wonderful. He was a multi-generational Louisiana and New Orleans, and he was our server, and he was just so impressive. And towards the end, he brought up that, well, this is a job he had to take because he was furloughed and so was not making any money, and he worked for the federal government. He didn't know who I was. And I said, well, Joe, I can appreciate that. You know, I'm sort of in that world as well. And I said, where do you work? And he said, well, I work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in their New Orleans office as part of the financial team. And so it just really brought home for me, to echo what Mike said, just thanking so many thousands of federal workers who are showing up, who are still doing their job, who aren't getting paid, those that are now concerned about putting food on the table and making their mortgages and paying their rent. But to be out in the country, I was in Indiana yesterday, and understand the real sort of pain that's being felt. But just to echo a couple of the themes that Speaker Johnson talked about, again, the idea that the Democrats have now for 14 different votes voted to keep the government closed is absolutely unconscionable. Every day they hold the federal government hostage. They are leaving millions of families' livelihoods and critical benefits, including SNAP, hanging in the balance. Of course, we all know the 13,000 air traffic controllers working without pay, many turning to Uber, taking second jobs in restaurants, etc., as this shutdown continues. Hundreds of thousands of federal employees are not receiving a paycheck. Thousands of small business loans are going unapproved each month because of the shutdown, equating to almost $4 billion in capital being taken out of the pockets of small business owners across this country, truly the backbone of our economy. It is a fact that Democrats shut down the government over free health care for illegal aliens and their $1.5 trillion partisan wish list. Democrats need to stop playing politics with the livelihoods of hardworking Americans and open the government now by voting for the clean resolution. We are here today because SNAP benefits run dry tomorrow. So the truth has finally revealed itself, hasn't it? Democrat support for programs like SNAP is now reduced to cynical control over people's lives. This last month has shown that the party who constantly says it puts people over politics does the complete opposite. Millions of Americans, as of tomorrow, will no longer receive SNAP and potentially WIC or even a paycheck. Democrats have instigated a disgusting dereliction of duty unlike anything I have seen in all my years doing this work, all to favor illegal aliens and other radical far-left policies that benefit only a small, tiny sliver of their base. I am embarrassed for Chuck Schumer. He is going out of his way to please the likes of Zohran Mamdani, a man who is polarizing America with his socialist rhetoric and anti-American principles. The very essence of government responsibility is to the citizens who live and work here to protect their interests first, unless you are a Democrat in the United States Senate. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are doing all this because they fear the socialists and the radicals to their left. Ironically, in leaving American families hungry and American children without food, they are giving a preview of what those socialists will do to every one of us if they ever take power. What you're really seeing here is the end of the Democrats as a responsible party of government, a party that ends governance, a party that ignores Americans, a party that cannot master the most basic principles and processes of government, is a party that cannot be trusted with the reins of power. It isn't oriented toward anything but the end of the system in which it exists. SNAP is arguably just the beginning. The logical and inevitable end to where this all goes is the Democrats and the whole superstructure of constitutional government. President Trump has made it clear, reopen the government, get government funding back on solid footing, restore the confidence of American families who count on programs like SNAP, and stop treating them and their well-being as pawns in a political game, according to the Democrats. Prioritize American citizens, prioritize American families, and prioritize American children. I would like to make a quick note and then want to obviously leave lots of time for questions. Yesterday, I was in Indiana, and I was visiting a soybean farm, sixth-generation soybean farm, the Everetts. And they have about 1,500 acres right outside of Indianapolis. We were harvesting corn, but they also do soybeans. And as I was there, it occurred to me that what President Trump has been doing over the last week or weeks in fighting across the world to open up markets for American farmers, for American families, while the Democrats are back here playing political games. It must stop. We must get the government open. And our citizens and these voters and our taxpayers and our families and our children expect no less. Thank you all.
All right, take a few questions. Chad, go ahead. You're standing up in the back. Go ahead.
Hello, Chad.
This question for the Secretary. The minority leader in the House said yesterday, Hakeem Jeffries, that the term he used was lying, that some of these SNAP benefits couldn't be liberated. Can you explain, refute that, give us your perspective, what their perspective is, and what your argument is, why it is?
Yeah, and I appreciate the opportunity to explain that. So the fact that the Democrats are saying, but wait, USDA has money in their accounts. Why it is really their fault. I've seen it over and over and over from some of their leaders is absolute false, and it is a lie. We have been saying on October 10th, we sent messages out. On October 24th, we sent messages out. These benefits end on November 1st. Now, let me get down into a little bit of the details on that to better explain. So there is a contingency fund at USDA, but that contingency fund, by the way, doesn't even cover, I think, half of the $9.2 billion that would be required for November SNAP, but it is only allowed to flow if the underlying program is funded. It's called a contingency fund, and by law, contingency fund can only flow when the underlying fund is flowing. So, for example, if today the Democrats say, oh, never mind, sorry, we'll open the government, and SNAP flows, Hurricane Melissa or one of the hurricanes hits, that's the contingency fund that we would use to send more money into the vulnerable communities that are harmed by a specific event like a hurricane. But it is a contingency fund that can only flow if the underlying appropriation is approved. And listen, even if it could flow, it doesn't even cover half of the month of November. So here we are again in 2 weeks having the exact same conversation.
I'll just add to that. The Democrats are lying about that, and I think they know that. Some of the ones who are out saying it are actually attorneys. They can read the black letter law themselves. They've even filed a lawsuit, you saw, to try to do it. Why? Because they wanted a talking point. They know that's a frivolous piece of litigation. They know they're going to lose, but they also know it'll take many weeks or months to have that ultimately determined by a court because of the way the justice system works. So they're using it as a talking point to try to claim. I believe they know for a fact that what they filed in the court is false. You know, they're lawmakers. They're supposed to know how the law works. And so the whole thing is just shameful. And they're using the people as pawns in this game. That underlying fund that the Secretary just addressed was unfunded by the Democrats themselves when they voted against the CR. The CR would have kept all this funded, and they chose not to do it. Not once, not twice. 13 times in the Senate, once in the House, 14 overall. Yes, sir.
I'm sure you saw President Trump's tweet last night suggesting that it's time for Senate Republicans to blow up the filibuster in order to get the continuing resolution passed. I know in the past you've been reluctant to encourage your Senate colleagues to do that or not. Are you aligned with the president now that it's time for them to take this dramatic step to reopen the government?
I haven't. The president's been very busy. He was in Asia doing all these trade agreements. I've been a little busy, as you know. We haven't spoken since he returned. I sent him a text earlier this morning. I saw that as well. What you're seeing is an expression of the president's anger at the situation. He is as angry as I am and the American people are about this madness. And he just desperately wants the government to be reopened so that all these resources can flow to the people who need it so much. Look, I'll just say this in general. As I've said many times about the filibuster, it's not my call. I don't have a say in this. It's a Senate chamber issue. We don't have that in the House, as you know. But the filibuster has traditionally been viewed as a very important safeguard. If the shoe was on the other foot, I don't think our team would like it. The Democrats, look, they've said what they would do. They would pack the Supreme Court. They would make Puerto Rico and D.C. states. They would ban firearms. They would do all sorts of things that would be very harmful for the country. And the safeguard in the Senate has always been the filibuster. But again, not my issue, not something I get to even weigh in on. My opinion on this is not relevant. It's the senators. But I think that it just is another expression of the frustration, of the pressure that is being felt, the anger by the president and by me and all of us that we're in this situation at all. Do your basic job. I'm going to say this again. We have put zero Republican policy priorities on the CR. It is Biden-level policies and spending. They have no excuse at all not to support it. They have no excuse to put all this pain on the American people, except that for what we've just articulated and repeated here every day, they want to give a showing to the radical left fringes of their base, and they want to give illegal benefits or benefits back to illegal aliens and non-citizens and all the other crazy stuff that they've claimed. Yeah.
Can I respond?
Sure.
I just very quickly, I have not spoken to the president either since last night, but let me say this. He is, and I've been next to him for almost 9 or 10 years now. He is so resolutely focused on delivering for the American people. All day, every day, 7 days a week, 20 hours a day. This is what he is thinking about. And as the world's greatest deal maker, from his perspective, the way he thinks out of the box as a businessman is how do we end this nonsense, and how do we again open the government, and how do we support these families that need support?
Yeah, go ahead. I'd already called on. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah.
Madam Secretary, question to you. So I know you addressed the contingency fund, but SNAP has never run out of funding in its 60-year history, even during shutdown. Why were past administrations able to find funding to keep it afloat in a shutdown if you can't?
Well, let me see. I've got a chart I want to show you all on the SNAP funding. My charts are slightly wanky because our print shop is closed because we're furloughed. So it was a little arts and crafts time over at USDA early this morning. So this is the chart of the SNAP program. Now, I know everyone can't see this, but this goes back to October of 2023. And I want everyone to follow. This is the red line that under Joe Biden, you see an almost 30% increase in the cost of the SNAP program over the 4 years that President Biden and the USDA was overseeing it with Congress funding it. And you see now the downward trend since President Trump was reelected November, and we've had about 650,000 people move off of SNAP since President Trump was elected. A press conference for another time. That's obviously the goal of all these programs, is to move families into real work and the dignity of that. I say that because the astronomical costs of the SNAP program under Joe Biden was historical. It was unprecedented, and we don't have the same levels of funding that were there in the past. And by the way, for 1 month, we have band-aided and bubble-gummed and duct taped this deal to get this 1 month of funding in for SNAP, the $9 billion. Thank you.
Quick follow-up. I mean, because reality is setting in for a lot of people this weekend. So what do you say to the millions of people who stand to lose their food stamp benefits? What should they do?
My message to America is first the fact that your government is failing you right now. That poverty is not red or blue. It is not a Republican or Democrat issue. It doesn't matter who you voted for or even if you voted. That if you are in a position where you can't feed your family and you're relying on that $187 a month for an average family in the SNAP program, that we have failed you. But I think what's so important, and this is why we keep hammering this, the Republicans have voted over and over and over again to open this government so that these funds don't stop. And for 14 different times, the Democrats have said, no, we are going to hold hostage the most vulnerable families in this country so that we can get our left-wing radical agenda into the government and the governing structure. And to that, President Trump, Speaker Johnson, Majority Leader Thune have said absolutely not, and we're very grateful for that. Please vote yes. We implore the Democrats in the Senate to vote yes to get this government open and these people the benefits that they need to feed their families.
And it's clarified. When she says we have failed you, she means we, the Democrats, okay? Because as we've just explained, Republicans have voted 14 times to get this done. The president has pleaded with Schumer and Hakeem to open the government, and they told them no. We're doing everything we can. The Republicans, they say, well, the Republicans are in charge of the federal government. Why can't they get this done? It's simple math. We need 60 votes in the Senate. We only have 53 Republicans. We have to have Democrats. It is the Democrats alone who are failing the American people. And this administration, every cabinet secretary, it's not just Secretary Rollins, every cabinet secretary is bending over backwards to make sure that the American people are served and they get what they need. But we are not magicians. We cannot wave a magic wand. The funds have run out because the Democrats are playing games. And that's why we've been here every day this month pleading with them to do the right thing. And they do not care. They have shown how callous they are. They do not care that people are suffering. And that's who's failed them. It's not the government overall. It's the Democrats who are holding up the government for working for the people. It's a very important thing. Jay, go ahead.
You undoubtedly have seen some of the modest progress in the Senate. At least people are talking about spending
Yeah, look, the whole point of this is a very important reminder. The reason we're in this mess is because they voted against the clean CR. What was the point of the CR? The CR was merely to buy us 7 additional weeks to finish the funding of the government, the appropriations process. We were working on that in bipartisan fashion and bicameral fashion. As you know, we had a conference committee set to go on 3 appropriations bills that had passed out of the House. They didn't match the Senate exactly. They were going to work through that. That's the process. And our appropriators, the members of Congress who work on all this funding every day, are raring to go. In both parties, in both chambers, they want to get back to that work, and that is the whole point. Chuck Schumer and the leadership are holding that process up. So am I optimistic that we can get back to that? Yes, but we can't do any of it until they take the simple step to vote on that additional time. It's just a stopgap funding measure to make all these services and funding flow to the people so that we can finish that work. They're holding it up. So I'm heartened, Jay, that we have members on both sides. I had a meeting with the chairman of our Appropriations Committee in my office yesterday afternoon. Tom Cole came in. We were talking about the latest and what those appropriators are doing, the things they're working on. I meet with Leader Thune about it almost daily on the subject. We are ready. The next packages of funding bills are being prepared. And yes, we want to pass that off the House as soon as possible. We want to get all 12 appropriations bills done because we're returning to regular order. That's been a commitment of mine since I became the Speaker 2 years ago, and it's something that Congress must do to be better stewards of taxpayer dollars. So we don't have, I'm using your handy chart here, so we don't have this spike in spending. We have more responsible spending. The only way to get this, to make the government work better and more efficiently for the people, is to go through that stewardship process, that important obligation that the founders intended and that we have used to respect, but we haven't in a long time. So all of this is entwined in that. We've got to get Congress working again. We're anxious to do it, and the sooner we can get back here and get the lights on, the better. But the number one mission of Congress right now is to turn the government back on. There's too many people's lives and health and hunger at stake. This is not a game. They've got to stop playing games. Remember this, too. The first time in U.S. history that any party has had the audacity to do what the Democrats in the Senate are doing right now. No one ever before has shut the government down over a clean, nonpartisan CR, because it would have been unthinkable until now. And you need to remind them of that. Yes, ma'am. Last one.
The one that beautiful bill contained numerous Medicaid anti-fraud measures. Senator Tuberville recently highlighted a slew of aliens are receiving these SNAP benefits. Are there any plans to do the same with SNAP and totally reform it just to ensure that it's available only to U.S. citizens?
You want to?
Yes, in fact, we've already done that now. So a couple of quick things on I guess the silver lining in all of this is that we're having a national conversation on our SNAP program, that this has sort of shined a light on a program that, especially under the last administration, has just become so bloated, so broken, so dysfunctional, so corrupt that it is astonishing when you dig in. So 3 important things on that. First, I talked about the extraordinary explosion of benefits under the last administration. And what happened was that the money that was going out was zero accountability. So one of the very first things we did when I was sworn in was send a letter to all the states and to remind everyone the SNAP program is administered through the states and the governor's office. So send a letter to all the states saying no more illegal aliens on SNAP. Period, full stop. So that's already a rule of this administration. We're working to enforce it every single day. The second thing is we began a very serious investigation into a lot of the fraud and abuse that we kept getting anecdotal stories of that no one was doing anything about. And so just in the last, I think, 6 months, we've had major dozens of arrests, people going to jail, fraudulent activity of 50 million here. One guy's registered for SNAP in 6 different states. I mean, it's one thing after another. So we are taking that extremely, extremely seriously. And we'll continue to do so. And then the third thing on this is that for the first time ever, the USDA, has asked the states for their data so that we can ensure that taxpayer dollars are being spent appropriately. Not surprisingly, all of the red states said, yes, please help us with this. We want to do the right thing. We want to make sure there's not all this corruption and fraud. By the way, two blue state-led governors also leaned in, Colorado and North Carolina, alongside every one of the red governors. But the other blue states, California, Oregon, New York, Washington, all of them actually sued us and said, oh no, we're not going to give you any data. So the problem is you have an extremely corrupt program, but up until this administration and with President Trump's direct focus on this and making sure every taxpayer dollar is spent appropriately, we've never really had the opportunity to dig in. So we're going to be talking a lot more about SNAP reform. We've got a lot of people listening now, which is very, very helpful, and to take that program back to its original intent of helping those who are truly needy in our communities, but not to have a massive welfare benefit where so many people are taking advantage of it that shouldn't be.
And I just want to add briefly, just zoom out a little bit. This is a stark contrast between the two parties, the two major parties in this country. We talk about the split screen in here very often. On this issue, with regard to reducing fraud, waste, and abuse in government, look, America is the greatest nation in the history of the world. We're the most powerful, most successful, most free, most benevolent nation that's ever been. Part of our benevolence, part of the spirit of America is that we do have these safety net programs. We support that. We have an extraordinary cabinet, like Brooke Rollins here, Secretary Rollins, who is handling and administrating the SNAP program is a good example of that. Medicaid is a good example. Why were they designed and why are they so important and why do we all support those ideas? Because sometimes people really can't take care of themselves. You know, you have the elderly, the disabled, young pregnant women, for example, who are single and they're down on their luck and they need some help. SNAP and Medicaid and these other programs were intended to be a temporary safety net to help people to get back on their feet. But they have been abused. And there are some big government advocates like the Marxists, like the socialists, who want the government to take over everything and supply everything for everybody. But guess what? If the government can give you everything, it can take it away as well, and your freedom is sacrificed. Socialism, don't get me started, has been a great scourge on humanity. I mean, the tens of millions of innocent people in the 20th century alone have died because of it. America stands for something better than that, something different. But the programs don't work if they're loaded down with fraud and abuse. And every single person in this room and every American of common sense should understand the necessity of having people in office, a president in the White House, a cabinet full of secretaries who are dedicated to this in every division of the federal government, and Republicans in Congress leading on this, to root out that fraud, waste, and abuse so the programs can survive. We did that in the One Big Beautiful Bill, in the Working Families Tax Cut. With Medicaid, we went into that and we eliminated the fraud, waste, and abuse. We got able-bodied young men without dependents off the program. They were never intended to be there. They're sitting around on their couches playing video games. Yes, that's an actual study, and they're siphoning the resources away from elderly people, disabled people, and young women who desperately need it. And so the funds were being depleted. We shouldn't go for that. And illegal aliens were never intended to be on any of these programs. They're for U.S. citizens only, law-abiding citizens. This is the team. The Republicans will fix that and save those programs for the country. And the Democrats will continue to abuse it. They sued the USDA for simply asking them to tell them how many illegal aliens are on the programs in California and New York and these other states. They sued them. You need to take account of what people are doing here in each party, the leaders and the President of the United States. We are trying to get government to work more efficiently and effectively for the people, and we are getting stopped and hindered by political games by Democrats. And that's why we're so frustrated. It's got to come to an end. Thank you all for being here this morning.
Thank you, everyone.
You know, and we have to remember as we take a live look at Air Force One, beautifully parked there at Andrews Air Force Base, we have to remember that the same Democrats that stayed seated while President Trump delivered a State of the Union address honoring people's lives and all these great accomplishments and people that have overcome so many things. Do you remember the State of the Union? And the Democrats just stayed seated. In moments that were like, how could you sit during that and not stand up and clap for someone that has overcome so many obstacles in their lives? You remember that? It's just, so we kind of understand those are the same people that are doing what they're doing right now. It's awful. But thank God that we have truth and common sense on our side, and hopefully they'll see the light on the other side of the aisle. But we know a lot of people across this country are awake. We know that we voted for President Trump for 3 straight elections. So we'll be getting ready to see President Trump here in just a minute. It's 10:35 Friday, October 31st. Let's go to a couple of our sponsors as we now await the president. Thanks again for joining us on this Friday, October 31st. Let's go to Perplexity. This Comet situation is pretty awesome because the question is, how much time do you actually spend, clicking around online, searching, scrolling, typing endless tabs? There's a lot on there. Well, there's a new AI web browser from Perplexity. It's called Comet. I've used this before. It's completely actually changing the way you're able to interact with your browser. So using Comet feels like having a personal assistant living in your web browser that can actually do things for you instead of just give you answers. So you can ask Comet to handle tasks for you. Literally, it clicks, types, searches, scrolls, just like you would. Comet can shop for you, make reservations, book travel, summarize articles or videos as well, send emails, schedule meetings, and a lot more to make your life easier. So all you have to do is download Perplexity's new AI web browser. You see it right there on the bottom right of your screen. And if you sign up now, you'll get 1 month of Rumble Premium for free. That's pplx.ai/RSBN. Go now and take back your time online as it's 10:37 this morning. Let's shift over to MyPillow. A lot of great products, of course. MyPillow.com/RSBN. Using the RSBN promo code goes a long way. And, last night, as I held the MyPillow, because I use it as a body pillow sometimes, I'm like, man, these are nice pillows. The slides are cool. The slippers, the My Coffee. There's so many different products. How about the Giza Dream Sheets? Very good stuff. So MyPillow.com/RSBN. Great products and always good to buy with Mike Lindell and MyPillow.com. And if you'd like to donate to Right Side as we continue to expand here at the network, all you have to do is text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. If you'd like to send it the snail mail old-fashioned way, which people still do, and they send us checks monthly, so a shout out to all of you that do that. There's a P.O. box for you out there. It's 1550 Opelika Road, Suite 6, Box 344, Auburn, Alabama 36830. Speaking of Alabama, woke up this morning, went out to the car, and it was sunny, but I saw this. I saw something on the sunroof. And if you can tell, there's ice. Ice? What? It's October 31st. Now, hold on. Those of you watching in Iowa, I get that it was in the 30s this morning, but in the deep south, man, come on. Really? Already? I wasn't expecting it, so that's why I took the photo. I posted it online. Hey, it's a Friday, right? All right, so Friday, October 31st. So if you'd like, in the comments, just type what the weather's like in your neck of the woods. Thanks so much for watching, whether it's the East Coast, Central Time Zone, Mountain Time Zone, West Coast, or anywhere else that you're watching out there on this awesome planet. All right, so you're seeing Air Force One parked there on the tarmac. That's Andrews Air Force Base. So this is what we usually see as we've covered this aspect before. We're going to see most likely Marine One flying over to there at Air Force One. Then we'll see the president, salute some of the Air Force personnel, and then we'll board the plane, wave maybe to the cameras, and get on that plane and head down to Florida for the weekend. Also, we know that usually what happens is on tape delay, we get a feed of the president's actual departure from the White House to the South Lawn. And then he usually speaks to reporters at that moment. So we'll have all of that for you as well. So that's our second part of our broadcast, as we saw the GOP leadership press conference, as that's the 31st in a row press conference all about the Schumer shutdown. Thanks, Chuck, right? Come on, man. We're going to see possibly over the next 24 to 48 hours, we know that 42 million people are on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP. Some of the people are saying that they're going to go and loot and steal in protest. So we'll see what happens. We'll be tracking all the stories there. In the meantime, let's go to some other news. As a D.C. task force is being created in Washington, all to make and hopefully keep our nation's capital safe. Now, we're told that the law enforcement component of the D.C. task force is a partnership of more than 20 federal and local agencies working together to make the District of Columbia the safest city in America. President Trump on Truth Social saying that for all of the great law enforcement patriots who would like to join the world's premier law enforcement task force, where police officers are fully allowed and empowered to do their job in battle crime, you can apply today to join the Make DC Safe Task Force. So the president said you will be at the cutting edge of defending our nation's capital city from all dangers and threats, and will be able to join the elite agency of your choice. If you have strong experience, you can begin on the task force immediately. So all you have to do is go to safedc.gov to apply. So it's safedc.gov to apply. All right, so that's great stuff right there. I mean, you think about that, you know, you've got the Metro PD there in DC, you've got the Metropolitan Police Department. Then you have now the possibility outside of the National Guard, a DC task force. Again, all to cut down on crime and to make DC safe. I mean, think about the amount of people from around our country. I know I've been there, right? You may have been there. You want to see a museum. You want to go out to eat, or you want to just stand outside the White House and be like, look at that. That's the White House. That's awesome. Or the Capitol building or whatever. You want to see the Thomas Jefferson Memorial, the Lincoln Memorial, Washington Monument, the MLK Memorial. There's so many different things to see there, right? As you guys know, I'm preaching to the choir, but it'd be great to have this extra task force of law enforcement that is there to protect people. And if President Trump was what the left extremists only, by the way, say, if he was a king and he was some tyrant, you know, then I could say, oh man, he's creating some police task force. But that's not who he is. He's on the right side of history. So he's simply doing that for the safety of the American people. That's what we see. And I think the thing that's really surprising a lot of people is we actually have a president who's doing something. Can I just tell it like it is on this Friday? He's actually doing something. And the left wing's like, oh my gosh, he's doing something that's looks like they don't even know what to do, because we haven't seen a president actually do something for the American people in a long time. It's kind of like, as my buddy said a couple months ago, he was like, it's kind of like you're walking in the desert and it's a fresh glass of water, finally. And so we have that with this president. Yes, do we want to see more indictments when it comes to those that have broken the law? Yes, of course. You have to be accountable for especially these crimes of subverting the will of the American people. That, according to Tulsi Gabbard, I'm not just saying that. A lot of people are talking about it. So, we want our country saved. We want our country to be restored. We want the reforms to stay locked in post-President Trump. Anyway, let's return now to Kevin Hassett. He's the director of the National Economic Council. He spoke outside the White House within the hour. We could take a look at that as we get ready to check that out in just a second as we get it ready. But again, we're seeing Air Force One there getting ready to receive the President of the United States, and we'll have that all for you. In the meantime, let's go to Kevin Hassett from earlier.
Tom Dempsey with News Nation. I was hoping you could give us your perspective on needing to move funds around to pay troops with this government shutdown.
Yeah, it's completely unacceptable that the Democrats are, basically holding all Americans hostage. Government workers who aren't being paid, people who need their food stamps, people who travel, people who are now concerned about their travel plans for Thanksgiving. The government is meant to be open. It's meant to function and be fully funded. And I can say that Russ Vought is doing heroic things to try to minimize the harm from the Democrats' hissing fit about Donald Trump's success. It's the only explanation for what's wrong right now.
And Director, what can President Trump do right now to help open the shutdown? He's heading, he's been gone in Asia, he's heading out of town. So what can he do to help reopen the government? Does he need to be meeting with Democrats right now?
Well, President Trump just closed a number of historic deals with our Asian allies. He was able, along with Secretary Essa and Jameson Greer, to negotiate an astonishingly good deal with China. He actually went above Spinal Tap and said it wasn't an 11 on the Navafu test, it was a 12. I think I might give it a 13 because if you look at it, China is continuing to pay the tariffs that the president has put in place, but they're also opening up their trade with us and buying stuff from our farmers.
But
and so
Director, why won't the president meet with Democrats to talk about what they can do?
The president takes phone calls all the time, but this is an issue with the Senate. The senators need to do their job. The job of the senator is to be a moderating influence in American culture, American politics. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats right now are the opposite. And I think that every voter in the world is going to notice that, oh, that guy that I thought was a moderate is not. That they're basically taking orders from Chuck Schumer and AOC and putting Americans in harm's way with their government shutdown. It's just completely unacceptable.
Do you support the elimination of the filibuster? What you mentioned stronger measures last week too.
President Trump has mentioned that might be an option. But, frankly, I don't know how long. I think the Democrats might decide to try to keep the government closed until President Trump's out of office. Who knows? That there's no sense in what they're doing. Again, it feels like a hissy fit of a 2-year-old.
Do you think the premiums though, he's called a hissy fit, do you think that's a genuine concern that they have on the left?
President Trump has made it clear that, as have the Republicans in the House and Senate, that they're willing to discuss the premiums after the government's open and through the normal course. I remind that 13 times the Democrats voted to keep the government open while President Biden was in office, but that meant that 13 times the Republicans understood their constitutional duty to keep the government open so that Americans don't go through the suffering that they're going through right now. It's completely preposterous that this is like the third time that we've had a government shutdown since President Trump was in office. And so basically, when President Trump wins, the Democrats know that they've got a worthy opponent on their hands, and the only option that they seem to have is to shut the government down. And it's just like they're not doing their job.
You were really talking about
I got time for one
How
more
would you
question.
describe the health of the U.S. economy in light of the cut of the rate from the bank?
Yeah, so the U.S. economy is very strong. We're looking at third quarter GDP that's close to 4% growth, and lots of wind. And I think that's a momentum that will carry forward. The government shutdown is looking like it might reduce that number quite a bit, especially going into the fourth quarter. And but the momentum from all of President Trump's policies is really, really strong. As for the Fed, I think that we're glad that they reduced the interest rate. We think that was the right move. But if you think about from the previous meeting, the news we have is basically that inflation is lower than we thought. And other than that, we don't have a lot of news because the government shutdown is making it so that the Fed's flying blind a little bit. But we have a government shutdown, which is a negative for the economy. And against that backdrop, the idea that the Fed would be backing away from their promised rate reductions in the future is puzzling to us. So thank you very much.
President Trump announced additional tariffs on Colombia. Mr. Hassett. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so that was within the hour from Kevin Hassett outside of the White House as we're taking a live look at Air Force One there. We're also awaiting any possible developments surrounding Venezuela right now with the whole narco-terrorist situation there. The Miami Herald reporting the Trump administration has decided to attack military installations inside Venezuela, and the strikes could occur at any moment. Thanks to the real Toria Brooke for that quote on Truth Social. We have not yet independently confirmed that, but the Miami Herald, a pretty large, sizable newspaper, reporting that, and it also goes in line with what President Trump has spoken about in the recent past. So we'll see if that's something that happens, whether that's today, tomorrow, through the weekend, and we'll wait to independently confirm that as well. So again, the Miami Herald reporting that the Trump administration has decided to attack military installations inside Venezuela, and the strikes could occur at any moment. So that, again, according to the Miami Herald. We're following a lot of news here at Right Side. It's 10:50 this morning. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and it's a time when many families are searching for clarity, for hope, and for options worth learning about. So more people today are exploring repurposed medications like mebendazole for its potential cancer support and ongoing research. All Family Pharmacy, simply believes you deserve access and the freedom to explore what may feel right for you and loved ones. So they make the process very simple. A licensed doctor reviews every order to ensure that it's appropriate, and your medication is shipped directly to your door. So for this final week of October, they're offering 40% off mebendazole. This is an offer that actually ends today. So this is the last day to get 40% off mebendazole. The discount is automatically applied at checkout, so there's no need for a code there. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And as always, this is not medical advice. Please consult with a licensed physician to determine what's best for your care. Great sponsor here at Right Side. allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Same thing with what you see right there. Monetary gold. As you know, for years, the signs have been clear, but most Americans, it seems, to have ignored this situation. Now the storm beneath the dollar is impossible to miss. Gold has broken through $4,000 an ounce. Silver's past $50, and it's not luck, it's logic. When governments spend beyond their means, when every crisis is met with another trillion printed out of thin air, the value of your money must fall. So history proves it, and every time a currency weakens, gold and silver rise to reveal the truth. These metals don't depend on promises. They don't vanish when confidence collapses. They endure. That's why the world's strongest institutions are moving into physical gold, quietly but decisively. And now's your opportunity or moment to do the same. All you have to do is call 888-617-7994 or go to rsbnforthegold.com. Great sponsor there at Right Side Broadcasting Network, and Kalshi.com/RSBN. A lot of topics to bet, trade, or just check out the polls on various things out there, including the New York City mayoral election. Man, that's only a few days away, literally 4 days from now until we see what happens to New York City. We hope for the best, and we hope that the votes will favor other candidates other than Zoran. That's my opinion. I'm sure that's the opinion of many people out there. And if you disagree, we live in a free country. Always okay to do that. 10:52 a.m. this Friday morning. Thanks again for joining us. And back to the Zoran thing. I was driving with my family yesterday, and we saw some traffic in Alabama, and it was rush hour. There may have been an accident on one of the interstates around here. And we saw a long line. You know how you can go over an overpass and you just see forever of the traffic, and then the oncoming traffic, there was really nobody. So it was all in one direction. It reminded me, and I posted this on Truth Social, of what that might look like for the Garden State Parkway and the New Jersey Turnpike out there in New Jersey outside of New York City if Zoran does actually win this thing. A mass exodus. But who knows? Will that happen? I mean, how many people there are on the right side of history? There are a lot, because we went to the Bronx that one time. Remember that rally in New York? There's a lot of people that want New York City to be made great and made safe and all that, but it would be really bad if it goes in the hands of a communist situation there. Also, I saw the Gateway Pundit reposting a story, or at least somebody's thought about the elections in New York and in LA. And, in LA, with, I guess it's Prop 50, and in New York, we know that these cities like New York, LA, Chicago, just generally speaking, you would say there's some corruption going on, right? So even if the people in New York said, we want Curtis Sliwa or we want Andrew Cuomo to be our mayor, how's the voting going on there? That's all I'm saying. I have no evidence or receipts. I'm just saying my opinion, which I'm allowed to do. It's an op-ed, right? There's a lot of op-eds in newspapers. There's op-eds on when you have network hosts talking. So that's just a question, And that's what's great about this president for our country, is that he and the team are working on securing our elections. We simply want free and fair elections. That's all. And if New York on a free and fair election said they want Zoran, that's awful, but they have the right to do that. Unfortunately, that's a lot of brainwashing and a lot of indoctrination to vote for someone like that. But, I digress. We're 6 minutes out from the top of the hour, just telling it like it is on a Friday. Why not, right? Friday, October 31st, 10:55. Looking forward to seeing the president in just a little bit. Again, we're going to see Marine One. The skies are clear, so usually he'll be flying via Marine One. Sometimes he takes the motorcade, the Beast, over there to JBA. Joint Base Andrews, but today it looks like it'll be Marine One. So what we'll see most likely is the helicopter landing, the president boarding the plane, and then we'll have on tape delay, which is how it normally happens, the south lawn of the White House where the president walks out, speaks with reporters, and then boards Marine One over to Air Force One. All of that to say, this is RSBN Live with Matthew Alvarez. Let's go to a commercial break. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Tired of being told no by your doctor, your pharmacy, or worse, your insurance company? You're not alone. Millions of Americans are waking up to a broken healthcare system. That's why more and more people are turning to All Family Pharmacy. We believe in medical freedom. We deliver the prescription and the medication, all from licensed U.S. doctors and pharmacists, from ivermectin and trusted antibiotics to maintenance medications, even NAD+, the revolutionary anti-aging supplement. Use code RSBN10 at checkout for 10% off your first order.
Every once in a while, something big happens, something that changes everything. And now, in a defining moment for crypto, Trump Media Group and Crypto.com are joining forces to acquire up to $6.4 billion of CRO, launching America's first ever CRO treasury, empowering the Kronos blockchain. This is more than a partnership. It's the future of finance built in America. For more, visit Crypto.com, where millions trade CRO every day.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat Live Show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. We're approaching the top of the hour on this Friday, October 31st. I hope not too many people knocked on your door last night, right, when it comes to trick or treat. I mean, maybe you're totally down with that and all that, but at our house, we didn't know last night was trick or treat. We thought it might have been tonight or something. And the lights were off outside, but still somebody knocked on the door, a bunch of kids, and the family was there and caught us off guard a little bit. So sorry about that. Anyway, so 10:58, Friday, October 31st. We're going to get to TPUSA from this past week in Oxford, Mississippi. Ole Miss. What a great moment that was. A great speech there by the Vice President, by Mrs. Erica Kirk as well. We're going to revisit some of the moments from Wednesday. As we know, TPUSA will also be in Auburn, Alabama coming up this coming Wednesday next week. So a lot of coverage there for that as we are approaching that 11 o'clock hour on the East Coast. Again, thanks so much for waking up with us wherever you're watching right now on the West Coast, Mountain Time Zone, Central Time Zone, East Coast, and anywhere else out there. We love you, America. We're with you. All right, let's go to a couple of our sponsors, angelpaste.com. You can use that RSBN promo code to get a discount off of the flagship product there, the Miracle Cream. There's other great products there as well. And since we're now approaching November, you know, it's going to be time to get some gifts for December. So go ahead and do that if you'd like. Angelpaste.com. Use the RSBN promo code. Many products on there. Some great ones too. And let's now go to covepure.com as well. /RSBN. If you are sick of the tap water or you're just maybe the filter you have isn't the greatest, well, Cove Pure is great. 99.9% of the stuff that's in water that shouldn't be there, or at least to ingest and to make water taste better, you can get all of that with Cove Pure. Again, 99.9% of it. And also you can have, whether it's cold, warm, or hot, as you can see there, whatever temperature you want for the water. Go to covepure.com/RSBN, and for a limited time, $200 off of this great water filter. A great sponsor here. Drink pure, live pure, covepure.com/RSBN. Let's also go to Perplexity now. How much time do you spend online when you're searching, scrolling, typing endless tabs? Well, it's a lot. And there's this new AI web browser from Perplexity. It's called Comet. So Comet feels like having a personal assistant living in your web browser that can actually do things for you across the internet, actually do things instead of just give you answers. Comet can handle tasks for you. It literally clicks, types, searches, and scrolls like you would. Comet can shop for you, make reservations, book travel, summarize articles or videos, send emails, schedule meetings, and a lot more to make your life easier. This is the cutting edge stuff, right? This is that next thing where President Trump said the other day on Air Force One, it's kind of like the new internet with AI. So download Perplexity's new AI web browser. It's called Comet. You see the website there on the bottom right of your screen. It's pplx.ai/RSBN. You can go now and take your back your time online. If you sign up now, you'll get 1 month of Rumble Premium for free. It's pretty cool to get Rumble Premium. Anytime there's, a few less commercials to click on, but if you pay for it, all good too. All right, so 11:01, Friday, October 31st. You're seeing the crew getting ready there for Air Force One. President Trump's not on that plane yet, hasn't arrived to Joint Base Andrews at this point. I believe he is still at the White House. He'll be departing from the White House, going to the South Lawn, then over to Marine One, most likely speaking to reporters. We'll have that in its entirety. If that's something that he's going to be doing today in the sense of stopping and speaking with reporters, which he usually does, especially on a weekend heading down to Florida. And then we'll see his takeoff from Marine One over to JBA. We'll see the Marine One land there, and then the president getting on board and taking off. And that'll most likely be wrapping our broadcast coverage for this morning, unless there's any breaking news out there, which we have seen from time to time, of course. Sometimes very awful stuff to report, of course. But let's shift now to a packed house at Ole Miss just the other day in Oxford, Mississippi, for that Turning Point campus tour, as this is the turning point. Of course, you remember September 21st, that extremely powerful memorial for the great late Charlie Kirk, and the spiritual renewal, the presence of God, the Christian faith, spoken about Jesus and being the Son of God, and not only dying but resurrecting on the third day. Of course, what Christians believe, what I believe. But outside of that, you see something like that happen, and if you don't believe in that as your faith, you still see something going on there, and you realize, okay, well, some of the other countries may have thought that America was more of this godless nation that didn't care about its faith. Well, after you saw September 21st, things obviously have changed in a good way for this country. The impact of the late, great Charlie Kirk, not only as an icon of freedom, not only as someone that stood boldly for his faith, not only someone that absolutely loved his family, loved his country, and then specifically over the past few days on Wednesday night in Oxford, Mrs. Erica Kirk took to the microphone there and spoke, and she said the following about Charlie Kirk, but also what our country needs to do. So let's take a listen to what Erica had to say.
And at this moment, every single one of us has a choice to make, whether we stand for freedom or we're just going to fall for everything else. I just want this to be the generation that says, we will not apologize for loving our country first. We will not be silent about our faith. We will not back down when the world tells us to kneel, because we bow only to the King of Kings.
Now, it's a mic drop right there. I mean, I'm going to read those quotes again because they're so powerful. They're so important. And I know, like, hey, it's a Friday, right? You know, it's Halloween for those of you that like to celebrate and all that. And then tomorrow is football again, Sunday's football. And if you don't watch sports, maybe you're just going to, you know, hang out with friends and family, do some errands, you know, that kind of stuff. The temperatures, of course, are getting a little cooler out there. And there's comedy, you know, there's some great comedy that I see out there. Rob Schneider, of course, a conservative, and others. I'm getting off the point here. The point is, she said this, quote, every single one of us has made a choice or has a choice to make, whether we stand for freedom or we're just going to fall for everything else. Standing for freedom looks so many ways. I mean, you can vote, you could pray, you can work hard, you could speak up. There's so many things that we can do. We can protest because we all have the right to do that. And then she also said, we will not apologize for loving our country first. We will not be silent about our faith. We will not back down when the world tells us to kneel, because we only bow to the King of Kings. Of course, the reference to Jesus Christ of Nazareth, bowing to him and bowing to him only, for those of you that are Christian out there. But the thing that's interesting is the not being silent about our faith, because, you know, back in the day, you know, the whole saying of, let's not talk about politics and religion. Well, things have changed. A lot of people talk about it. It's a real thing to talk about. And yes, it's more serious of a topic. And, you know, can't you just chill out and just have a good time and laugh? Yes, of course. It's always fun to do that. I'm looking forward to seeing I was talking to the crew yesterday. There's a new Tron movie out there. I like that movie. Come on. You know, I saw a funny meme on X last night where in Australia, a kangaroo walks up to this witch that is just a costume thing, a statue, and it wakes up when there's motion. So it's a motion detector thing. I know I'm not explaining it perfectly, but it is what it is. Anyway, and the witch would make a noise, and the kangaroo kicked the witch, and it just flew away, or it dropped on the ground. It was funny, all right? Terrible way of telling the story, sorry. But I get all that. But outside of all that, man, it's time to pray. It's time to get on our face and worship God, right? And so that's what Erica's saying there. She's saying every single one of us has a choice to make, whether we stand for freedom or we're just going to fall for everything else. She said, we will not apologize for loving our country first. We will not be silent about our faith. And we know that the late, great Charlie Kirk, you know, spoke about Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for the good to those that love God and are called according to his purpose. And I'm not just saying that because I remember something or just speaking. I really believe that if you love God, all things are going to work out. And as Mike Lindell said the other day during an interview, he said, we know the end of the story, that we win, but, you know, we still have stuff that we have to take care of on this side. So anyway. It's 11:08, Friday, October 31st. Let's play it one more time. Let's go back to Oxford, Mississippi, and listen in on Erica Kirk of what she said. Again, this is, I guess the reason why I'm talking about it so much is I really believe what she's saying here. I honestly, and I know a lot of you guys do too, but let's just go ahead and listen in. And these words that she's about to speak, I know you might have heard it already a couple times, but let's really listen in and take it in as a country. And even if only a few of you are watching right now, or whether live or on replay, or whether millions, you never know sometimes with Right Side, man, we get some serious views here. But let's listen in and take this in as maybe a heart cry for our country. Let's listen in again.
And at this moment, every single one of us has a choice to make, whether we stand for freedom or we're just going to fall for everything else. I just want this to be the generation that says, we will not apologize for loving our country first. We will not be silent about our faith. We will not back down when the world tells us to kneel, because we bow only to the King of Kings.
So it comes down to God, family, country, freedom. And it's something I know I've said on repeat here. You could just press a button on me, God, family, country, freedom. I'll repeat it 1,000,000 times, and I will continue to repeat it, because it's really all it's about, guys. And anytime the mainstream media is going and doing what they do, or people are just doing dog and pony shows at these political press conferences, I'm not talking about every politician, but most, we always remember this is what it's about. And so that's what I believe. I know many of you believe the same thing. Before we get to a couple sponsors, let's get back into the news flow, shall we? All right, so again, today is day 31 of the Schumer shutdown. We're also now 4 days from Election Day, which is November 4th. We're watching closely the New Jersey and Virginia gubernatorial races, along with the AG race in Virginia, and of course the New York City mayoral race. Man, that's going to be a tough one on Tuesday. We'll see what happens, right? We're also seeing if there are any more developments for any deep state indictments, for, tracking all that. We're following, the ICE mass deportation stories throughout the country, the National Guard doing a great job in various cities. We're also keeping an eye on any Antifa or woke mob protests that may pop up. Who knows? Of course, on many people's mind right now, what will be the no SNAP benefit reaction from some of the public if the Schumer shutdown doesn't reopen? 42 million people are on SNAP, which stands for, of course, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. We were hearing that and seeing videos that people are saying, well, they're going to loot and steal. We'll see how that all transpires. We're just covering the news, right? So, but we hope to see, great things happen and not terrible things. The president was saying on Truth Social last night, he will, quote, initiate the nuclear option to get rid of the filibuster and make America great again, end quote. That's from Truth Social, him talking about getting the government back open. We're also awaiting any possible developments surrounding Venezuela right now with the whole narco terrorists. You've been seeing the videos. Wow. I mean, right away, back in the day, if something was to happen with the Department of Defense, it would take a minute usually to see a video come out. But now with the Department of War, you're seeing the video pop right away. If it was like an hour ago that some narco terrorists were in some international waters trying to bring in enough drugs to kill a number of people, including obviously Americans, and to see the floating of the vessel out there, the target around it, the dropping of the hit and the explosion, like this is unprecedented times that we're living in. I know that's just one thing. I know there's been war before and there's been, attacks or hits like that, but that's just one thing out of so many things that are happening in our world right now. It's pretty wild to watch and to report on. But back to the point of what I was saying there, the Miami Herald is actually reporting that the Trump administration has decided to attack military installations inside Venezuela, and the strikes could occur at any moment. We saw that quote from Real Toria Brooke on Truth Social. We have not yet independently confirmed that, but still, Miami Herald, pretty sizable newspaper. And also outside of that, though, we know that President Trump has spoken about land being a possible target when it comes to the Venezuela situation. He said that in the Oval Office just last week, saying that right now we're doing this in the open sea. Well, what's happening now when it comes to land? So outside of that, in other news, we're expecting in the coming weeks an announcement from the White House about anything when it comes to securing our elections. So we know that was 19 out of 20 of the core promises to the American people. All right, so let's go to some of our sponsors as we await President Trump. Again, what we're looking to see is the president leaving the White House. So they're on the South Lawn, Marine One, and then possibly interacting with the reporters there, getting a little bit of a Q&A in before he departs for Florida. And then we'll also watch him take off with Air Force One. Always fun to watch that stuff. And for those of you that follow me on Truth Social, thanks for following. But also those of you that really liked my video that I put together the other day, thanks to Margot Martin, by the way, at the White House. I mean, she was posting the videos on X, and since she's a government employee, we're allowed in the media to freely use that kind of stuff. And I put together a video and used some of the Top Gun music underneath it, and it was great. And I know President Trump always uses that music at the rallies when the flyovers happen. But anyway, thanks for following on Truth, and follow RSBN on Truth Social too, at RSBN, and on X at RSB Network as well. Let's go to mypillow.com/RSBN. Speaking of right side, you can use that RSBN promo code and get quite the discount. A lot of different products on MyPillow, as you guys know. Everything from the pillows to the sheets to the mattress toppers to the slides, the slippers, the coffee, the My Cross, the towels. And let's just not forget about the sheets, right? The Giza Dream Sheets, good stuff. All right, anyway, let's go to RSBN Donate right now. If you'd like to donate to the network, just text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. As you give money to Right Side Broadcasting Network, we get to expand here at the network, but also, indirectly, you're giving to true conservative media. Really, I mean, all of the coverage that you guys see out there, it is free to watch, but it's not free for us to do what we do. So if you'd like to donate, even if it's $1 or if it's $1,000, who knows? If you don't want to or can't, no big deal. I hear you. But if you can, text RSBN to 801-801 or go to rsbnetwork.com/donate. All right, 11/16, Friday, October 31st. We know that the president is now leaving the White House, meaning he's on his way in Marine One. Do we have that video, Director? Okay, let's go to President Trump right now. All right, so you're looking at the north lawn of the White House. I learned a lot by just seeing that live feed, thanks to our crew here at the network, getting that live feed from D.C., this one from JBA, Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. This is what I learned. Ready? All right, so usually he flies Marine One over there, but you can hear just with the audio, the winds. So most likely too windy, so they're just going to drive over with the Beast and the motorcade. I remember the other day he drove with the motorcade as well because it was just cloudy and rainy. So today it just seems like it's a windy day. So they're just going to drive to JBA there. The other thing that I've noticed is that obviously he wasn't on the South Lawn speaking with reporters. So he'll be arriving to the airplane there. There are usually under the left wing of the plane is where the press usually gets set up just in case the president will want to speak to reporters for just a second. I don't know if it's going to happen or not. It's windy. It's been a great week for the president overseas. So he might just go on that plane and head to Florida. So maybe he'll speak to the press on Air Force One. But let's be honest about this, guys. We have gotten used to him speaking to the press every 5 seconds, literally. He spoke more to the press, I think, in 2 seconds than Joe Biden did in 4 years. And anybody else, really. I mean, he's transparent. He's out there. He's talking. So if we don't see him speak to the press today, it's okay, right? So, but we might still see it. We'll see. But how about that beautiful shot there? Director, can we minimize my box and just show that a little bit bigger screen of that just beautiful jet there at Joint Base Andrews? I mean, you can see the clouds, just beautiful clouds there. As we get ready to see the president get to JBA. I think it's a 25-minute drive maybe with some traffic to get to Maryland. And then also right now, I wouldn't mind if you could, director, I'm kidding by this, but play some Top Gun music underneath this. No, I'm kidding. But so, it was fun watching that in some of the rallies back in the day, listening to that. And as we see Air Force One there, and we get ready to see President Trump pull up with the motorcade, it's been quite the week. How many wins when it comes to all of the trade deals, the peace deals, the 3 nations that he visited, from Malaysia to Japan to South Korea, then meeting with the second most powerful economy on earth, the president of China, Xi Jinping. I mean, so I can tell, man, when President Trump was standing next to Xi Jinping, you remember with the photos with the Chinese flag and the American flag behind him, and they were, shaking hands there and for that photo op. They are 2 very powerful people right there. Obviously, we're not for communism in any way, shape, or form, and I'm not praising Xi Jinping in any way. I'm just saying the fact's a fact. That is the second most powerful economy, and it was just wild to see President Trump, man. And you think about it, all of those speeches that we saw the president deliver over the years, from the golden escalators to the speeches to overcoming Butler, Pennsylvania, to overcoming all the lawfare, to all of those great moments at the speeches, to all the times that we chanted USA, 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 we love you, all the sayings, all the chants, lock her up. Remember that one? FJB, how about that one? I mean, come on now. But the point is to see our president stand there on that world stage like he has been in the Middle East and then in Asia. Just powerful to see that. We're like, hey, we know that guy. That's our guy. That's our representative. Pretty powerful stuff to see it as the camera guy is now focusing in. I don't know if the camera guy knows, but he's not, I don't think, going to be flying in on Marine One. That's usually what he's doing right there. Maybe looking for Marine One because he may have seen that a report that the president has left the White House, which 9 times out of 10 or 8 times out of 10, Marine One will fly right from that vantage point. But it looks like, as to what you guys just saw with the north lawn of the White House, he's in a motorcade on his way to JBA. All right, so again, we're following some news about this D.C. task force being created in Washington, all to make and keep our nation's capital safe. So we're told that the law enforcement component of the D.C. task force is actually a partnership of more than 20 federal and local agencies working together to make the District of Columbia the safest city in America. It'd be great for all the cities to be safe, especially over this weekend. How is that going to look when it comes to some of the people saying that are on SNAP benefits, saying they want to loot and steal? We don't know how that's going to transpire. It might not be much of anything, hopefully not. And hopefully law and order will just, continue to rule and reign when it comes to, I said rule and reign, he's a king. But just basically saying that we want that safety for our country. But anyway, back to this point here. So President Trump on Truth Social posted a website. And then once you click on the website, which is safedc.gov, you see this image here that pops right up. He said on Truth Social, quote, "For all of the great law enforcement patriots who would like to join the world's premier law enforcement task force, where police officers are fully allowed and empowered to do their job and battle crime, apply today to join the Make DC Safe Task Force." To join the Make DC Safe Task Force. He said that you will be at the cutting edge of defending our nation's capital city from all dangers and threats, and will be able to join the elite agency of your choice. If you have strong experience, you can begin on the task force immediately. So go to safedc.gov to apply. Man, I might have to get some contacts. It's a little bit difficult reading that today. Get a little older. Anyway, safedc.gov. But this is great because, again, this is a whole, basically a law enforcement force for the safety of Washington. As you guys know, the National Guard is there. You've got the local police. But what about a federal situation? We're told specifically on that website, I read this yesterday, posted it on Truth Social, And so obviously so did President Trump. He has a lot more followers than I do. I've got about 5,000 of you out there. Love you guys. Every one of you, really. I mean, when I say good morning, Truth Fam, I mean it, because we are a family, and it's great to be on Truth Social. Anyway, the president on safedc.gov, it said, now we're told the law enforcement component of the DC task force is a partnership of over 20 federal and local agencies working together to make the District of Columbia the safest city in America. So it's really cool to see that. And I hope that task force just grows in strength and DC is made safe, not really only again, but kept safe for generations. Let's go to All Family Pharmacy as we await the president at JBA. He's on the way in the motorcade. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It's the last day for it, but still always something on people's minds, of course, and our minds here at the network. This is a time when many families are searching for clarity, for hope, and for options worth learning about. So more people today are exploring repurposed medications like mebendazole that you see on your screen there for its potential cancer support and ongoing research. Now, All Family Pharmacy believes you deserve access and the freedom to explore what may feel right for you and your loved ones. They make the process simple. A licensed doctor reviews every order to ensure it's appropriate, and your medication is shipped directly to your door. For this final week of October, they're offering 40% off mebendazole. Now, this offer ends today. The discount is automatically applied at checkout, so there's no code needed. Visit allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN to learn more. Again, that's allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. And as always, this is not medical advice. Please consult with a licensed physician to determine what's best for your care. Great sponsor there, allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. Also, Monetary Gold, another great sponsor. For years, the signs have been clear, but most people, I guess, ignored it because now the storm beneath the dollar is impossible to miss. Gold has broken through $4,000 an ounce, silver past $50, and it's not luck, it's logic. When governments spend beyond their means, when every crisis is met with another trillion printed out of thin air, the value of your money must fall. So history proves it. Every time a currency weakens, gold and silver rise to reveal the truth. Now, these metals don't depend on promises. They don't vanish when confidence collapses. They endure. That's why the world's strongest institutions are moving into physical gold quietly but decisively. And now's your moment to do the same. Call 888-617-7994 or go to rsbnforthegold.com. You can take what you've built and make it real before the next headline reminds you that paper wealth is just that, paper. Approaching the bottom of the hour, 11:30. Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break because what we're seeing, again, the camera guy thinks, I think, he's a pool camera guy, and they do a great job out there, and that's how we get all of our live feeds, and it's not free to get the pool feeds. Trust me on that one. That's why we talk about donating to the network, but also thank God for the great sponsors as well. But my point is, usually Marine One flies right from that direction. So I think the camera guy might have seen that, the president just left the White House. Well, he left on the ground. He's in the motorcade because we just saw that live feed. Or I could be totally wrong, and that could be where the motorcade is actually pulling around the corner. I don't know. I'm just watching it live here with you guys. I'm watching what you're seeing, so we're in it together, all right? Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break. What I'm going to do in the commercial break is I'm going to double check how long it is from the White House to JBA. But in the meantime, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Thanks for watching RSBN Live. We'll be right back here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.
All right, welcome back to Right Side Broadcasting Network. Looking forward to seeing the president pull up there in the motorcade. What we do know is that it's 15 miles from the White House to Joint Base Andrews. So that's Joint Base Andrews right there. We know that the president left about, 10 minutes, 12 minutes ago. It is about a 32-minute drive if you are like us, just driving along. But President Trump is the leader of the free world, of course. So they usually shut down the highways and all that. So he's... And I've been in the motorcade once. Thank you, RSBN. Thank you to my employer here at Right Side that we've been able to have that kind of access. I think of Robert McNeely. He was able to go on Air Force One that one time. And we've seen a lot here at the network. But anyway, in that motorcade, it was up in New Hampshire while I was doing the campaign trail coverage for the network. And they hum along there too. I mean, you're talking 70, 80 miles per hour and just whoom, right? So we're going to see that here any minute from now as the president is going to be pulling up. And then we'll watch the plane take off. And that will most likely end our broadcast for the day. We are keeping our eye out for that one story about out of the Miami Herald when it comes to a possible attack to military installations in Venezuela from our government. That's according to the Miami Herald. So we'll see what happens there. But again, President Trump spoke about, the drug cartels as, narco-terrorists, the terrorist organization that they are. And, will that happen? And this is just the question. Will that happen at sites in Mexico? I don't know. But the president's the one that spoke about all this kind of stuff last week. So we might have to re-rack all of that and check it out in just a second. But I do have a Flashback Friday video that I'm going to send the crew right now that it was all about Trump Force One back in the day. It was in Dayton, Ohio. And so I'm going to send that to you guys here on the fly. If we can, I guess we can't really take a big look at that visual there because it's a little shaky and there's not much going on. But let me get to that video here, guys, and see if I can get it over to you. As we are, thinking about all of the coverage that we've had this past week out of Asia, Malaysia, Japan, and then, of course, South Korea, where the president met with the Chinese leader as well, Xi Jinping. A lot, again, trade deals and peace deals seen there. And we've been seeing all of the different accomplishments that we've seen. Also, again, we're monitoring a lot of stories here at the network. I've been talking about that for quite some time. So if you're just joining us, there's a lot of news that we've been looking at. Doing two things at once while live on TV, not the easiest thing in the world, but let me give it a shot here. I'm trying to get to this one video that we can show you guys on the fly. And then I'll get back to some of the stories that we're following. But in the meantime, why don't we do this just to give me a second here to get that video. Okay, it sounds like the motorcade is there. So we're going to toss over there in just a second as it's 11:34 this morning. There's the motorcade. I'm going to get that video ready for you. We'll play that at the end of the broadcast. My name is Matthew Alvarez. Thanks so much for joining us here on RSBN Live. It's 11:34 Friday, October 31st. Let's go now to the motorcade. All right, so momentarily we're going to stay with the live shot here. We're going to watch the stairs move away from the plane, and we're going to watch the plane go on the tarmac and take off, and then we'll be ending our broadcast. We are working on getting that Flashback Friday video. You know, today reminds me in Maryland there at JBA that you can hear the wind with the audio. You can see the wind there when it comes to the president's hair and that kind of thing. But it was just like that in Dayton, Ohio, back in, I think it was March. Actually, I looked at it yesterday, March 16th, 2024. I was there with a colleague in Dayton, Ohio, of all places, a great spot with aviation history. And it was a windy day, just like it is today in Maryland. So we're going to play that video in just a second. Just a little Flashback Friday. If you missed the rallies and that kind of vibe and feel, we're going to go back to that in a minute. Also, speaking of rallies, you know, coming up with the midterms, which is what, how many months now? 11 months or so. Yeah, there's going to be probably a lot of rallies, I would think. At least tele-rallies, or maybe the president will be traveling a little bit on that. But, you know, to really confirm and win those midterms, not only through secure, free, and fair elections. I said it at the top of the show or earlier, I really believe if we have free and fair elections, how would we ever lose another election? I don't know. Because the majority of the country, all of us, I mean, we have more numbers. And more people are hopefully becoming more aware of what's going on in this world and in this country. And we are the last beacon of hope for freedom for the entire world. So we have to do it, right? Just like Erica Kirk said earlier, you have to stand for freedom or you're going to fall for anything or everything else. So, you know, anyway. So we're looking at Air Force One there. It's 11:39. We've been live since, to be honest, what time were we live, guys? 9 a.m.? 9:30, actually. So for a couple hours now. And we'll be checking out Air Force One take off there in a second. Let's go to Flashback Friday right now. Dayton, Ohio. It's about a 30-second video. Enjoy.
Everyone is listening to you now. I will fight for you with every breath in my body, and I will never, ever let you down. My fellow Americans, our movement is far from over. In fact, our fight has only just begun.
Ohio, America first, fight, fight, fight. That was March of 2024. What a great speech that was. If you remember, that's pretty awesome. I mean, but anyway, so the wind was off the charts. It was very windy that day. I remember I was there. I wore a hat, an Air Force hat that day or something similar. Anyway, and the teleprompter, there's two teleprompters right next to President Trump, even though he doesn't have to use them all the time. One of them actually fell off and he had to readjust it during his speech. It was a great time there in OHIO. And it's a great time to see all across this country, you know, and go to all the rallies and speak with all of you guys out there. And we saw that with Robert McNeely a lot as well in New York. How about at Madison Square Garden? You know, those awesome speeches. I mean, Elon Musk, the late, great Hulk Hogan, you know, Stephen Miller, Alina Habba. You know, we've heard Carolyn Levitt out there. We don't forget any of those great things that have happened during the campaign season. So when you see us, you know, day to day here reporting, we don't forget God, family, country, and freedom. And we don't forget that we're in this fight to win. And the fight I'm talking about, again, is prayer, hard work, voting, speaking up, standing for freedom, all of the things. Protest if you know, peacefully and patriotically. You know, that kind of thing. So, because we have to hold on to this, even outside of President Trump. And I know that's still a number of years away. And hey, it would be cool, right? If maybe it's J.D. Vance or, you know, whoever the candidate is, and then President Trump being the VP. I mean, hey, he's saying he's not going to do that. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, so it's 11:42. I'm Matthew Alvarez. This is RSBN Live. Let's just take a live look together, shall we? At Air Force One in Maryland. Flight 434, this is your captain speaking. This is Air Force One. We're on our way to West Palm Beach. There you go, Air Force One taking off. Great to see the president there and on his way to Florida. The great leader of this country, the leader of the free world. Thank you guys for watching this live stream broadcast, whether you watched it live or you're watching on replay. Hope you have a great weekend. If there's any breaking news, we're here for you. If not, we'll see you Monday.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
allfamilypharmacy.com/RSBN. You can scan that QR code now, RSBN10. That is the code, easy to remember, for 10% off. This is ivermectin, hydrochloroquine, antibiotics that will save you and yours from bacterial and viral infections, NAD+, and much, much more. 200 essential medications and emergency medical kits, the meds you trust delivered to your door.